When you own a home, it's your responsibility to protect that major investment by doing routine maintenance and upgrading it from time to time. I've got some great tips for you today, so grab a pencil and a paper. We've got a long to-do list. If you bought a fixer-upper, then you already know how much work a home can be. And even if you bought a new house, well, there's always projects to be done. Today I'm going to share with you some ideas for projects that you might want to do around your house that won't bust your budget. First up, we're going to replace a glass sliding door with French doors. Did you know that sliding doors have been used for centuries? In fact, there's evidence of them being used as long ago as the 1st century by Romans in Pompeii, Italy. Well, let's hope that your sliding doors aren't that old, but they're still heavy and hard to operate. Now, my doors, they look pretty good, and they're just about 10 years old, but they are really heavy. It's impossible for my grandchildren to slide them back, and because they're located up on the top step, makes it even difficult for Chris and I to open them and carry things in and out. So I thought, why not update my home by replacing these sliding glass doors with new French doors? It'll be a great look. Now, my carpenter Bill is already around back. He's inspecting the doors that just got delivered, and I can't wait to see how great they turn out.
This is a standard French door that should fit perfectly into the opening over there. Unfortunately, this door weighs a lot, so I'm going to need a helper to help me with this. This isn't a do-it-yourself job.
Bill and Joe did a great job on installing my new French doors. They look just as beautiful on the inside as they do on the outside. They're also energy efficient. The glass is designed to reduce the transfer of heat, and the wood provides 1,100 times the insulating value of aluminum doors. One of the best ways you can upgrade your kitchen, your bathroom, or even a laundry room is to replace your countertops. You know that realtors still agree that of the top 5 things that you can do to your home, Granite countertops is right in there in that top 5, and you're going to get money back in your pocket when it comes time for closing. Now, Rick Sears is with me today, and Rick knows a lot about countertops. He has helped make thousands of homeowners happy with new stone countertops, right,
Rick?
Yes,
ma'am. How are you, Vicki?
Good. It's good to see you again. We've worked together before on some of the Coleman House projects and all.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah, you're kind of my go-to guy.
I like the weather a lot better now, though. It was a little hot that day. Yes.
Okay, well now let's take a look at this countertop idea. I've decided that I'm going to invest that money as a homeowner and put in granite countertops. Where do I start?
Okay, ultimately you would start with a good fabricator. You're going to want to get some references, maybe word of mouth, etc. in your community. But they're going to be your lifeline for the whole project. They're going to refer you to some of the slab distributors where you will ultimately go pick out your color.
That's where you walk through and you really pick out the color you want.
Exactly.
Okay.
So they are your lifeline, and you're going to be working with them throughout the project. So you really want to get somebody that you do communicate well with.
Okay. All right. Okay. And when I get those new countertops in my house, do they come with any kind of sealer on them at all?
Well, there are several products now in the marketplace, 5, 10, and even 15 years. So it makes it a very low maintenance product. You know, in years past, it has been every 6 to 12 months you were told to annually seal it. But like I said, with the advancements in some of the products, you know, you can go that low maintenance route as well.
Okay, that's great. And so if I've got that sealer on my new countertops, then I'm not going to have to be going in there and sealing them.
Exactly.
Okay.
But if, say, your project didn't entail the budget and you were just working with a countertop that you had, a pre-existing countertop, there are products on the market which can enhance your existing color and that kind of thing, and you ultimately would, you know, want to seal that annually. Or even these new companies can come in after the fact and do pre-existing countertop
Okay, so if I get my
treatments as well.
countertop in my house, they can come in and put this great super duper sealer on it for
Exactly,
me.
yes.
And then I won't have to worry about that in between.
Correct.
Okay. All right. I have a friend of mine. I told her that I was going to be talking with you today, and she said, ask Rick about my shower. She has a shower that is done with black granite, and it doesn't look like this. It did when it was new.
Okay.
But now it looks more like that.
Okay.
You know, from the soap scum and that kind of stuff. What is possible, if anything, to bring that back?
I would say first call a professional. There are products on the market that do remove soap scum, etch marks, you know, a lot of the acid marks and that kind of thing.
Okay.
You're going to want to consult a professional though. I
right.
would never advise that a customer really just jump into the project and start doing it themselves.
Okay.
So consult a professional, but there are many products out there in the marketplace
So there is
that
hope
can
for that.
remove that.
Okay, so
exactly.
it's like a
and it's
color
going to be a lot
enhancers or
more
something that'll do that?
affordable. Yes. Color enhancers specifically made for that application as well. Dark
Okay.
stones and bath areas.
All right, let's say, for example, I've got a light colored stone like this cashmere. Okay, what happens if I've got a red stain in this?
Well,
Is
not
it
to be
just-
discouraged, not to be discouraged. That's a beautiful
you're so
thing about
positive.
granite.
That's what I love about
so, because it is porous, you have a very high success rate of removing stains that are in pre-existing countertops. And then again, just applying these sealers which are out there and giving it life for 15, 20 years down the road as well.
Okay,
So,
now, how about, you said soap and water is the only thing I need to do in between, but I'm having a big party. Is there
okay.
something I can use
Yeah,
just to
any
spray?
natural stone cleaner is very good, and the beauty of a natural stone cleaner, one geared for natural stone, is that it will not have a lot of the residues, say like a 409, those kind of things, which will build up on the countertop over time.
Okay.
So a natural stone cleaner is going to have more of a water base, and it's going to leave a nice sheen, less residues on your countertop.
And marble, like I have, is more delicate to work with, as I'm finding out. To my
Yes.
regrets, and I love it. I still love it, but it's high maintenance. These are treated differently than granite is, slate, cement, all those deals, so you need to really read your labels and make sure.
Read your labels, yes, and generally marble will require sealing more often. A lot more porous, a lot more susceptible to staining, etc.
Okay, Rick, well, thanks a lot for this great information. You know, we're talking about ways to improve the value and maintain our homes, and I think these are great tips.
Yep, and clean countertops will help. So.
We're talking about ways that you can invest in the value of your home and upgrade it from time to time. Now, new countertops, well, they're right up on the top of my list. And if you're going to put in new countertops, go the distance. Go ahead and get yourself a new sink and new faucets. If you're working on a budget, and I know lots of us are nowadays, then consider at least replacing your faucets. There are some beautiful ones out there, and they're much more efficient than the old style. When you start looking at them, look at the ones that have the water saver features. That's really important. And talking about water, did you know that if your kitchen sink is dripping now, or as far as that goes, any faucet in your house, and it's dripping 1 drop per second, that can add up to 10,000 liters of wasted water per year. That's a lot of water going down the drain. Now, think about, too, how you can change the style of your kitchen by just selecting the right kind of faucet. Take a look at this ordinary kitchen sink. Pretty plain and ordinary, correct? Well, by changing out that faucet, look how much more contemporary and edgy it looks. So it's a quick update that you can afford to do. Now, when you're out there shopping for those new faucets, you've got some real details you need to keep in mind. For example, look at my setup that I have here. I have 4 holes that are drilled in my marble countertop, so I'm going to look for a setup that requires 4 holes. Now, if you say, well, I fell in love with one and it only, it has a self-sprayer that comes out of the top of it, I want to get rid of this sprayer, what do I do then? Well, here's some options. If you don't already have a soap dispenser, think about adding one of those. Or maybe one of those new push buttons that will operate your garbage disposal. Those are some of your options, and as a last resort, you can always just get one of those little caps that goes over the hole. So know how many holes your setup already has. Pick out something that'll really add to the style of your kitchen and upgrade it and invest in your home. Now, I really loved my kitchen faucet. The old one worked great up until about 2-3 weeks ago. Then it started dripping, and I found out I couldn't get replacement parts for it. Chris is my plumber, and he said, Vic, let's just replace it, right?
That's correct, Vic. You contact me and ask me a few questions, and I help you make your selection. A couple things you want to keep in mind when making a selection is the thickness of your countertop, how many holes you have, the layout, and the style that you're looking for.
So you're sure you don't get one that's too big or
Correct.
doesn't work properly?
That could have issues with the backsplash or the windowsill.
Okay, so once you've made that decision on, the style and the type you want, what are some of the things that you want to think about as far as quality is concerned?
Quality is you want to pick a very good, well-reputable name brand faucet, something that's full brass, doesn't have a lot of plastic parts, something that you're going to invest the time and money in purchasing that it's going to last a long time.
Well, now you say that this is a do-it-yourself project if you're kind of handy, so I'm going to let you explain to us how you plumbers put these in.
Great, thank you. Once you make the selection of the faucet, you want to review with the homeowner. In this case, it's Vicki. You want to lay out, if she's righty, you want to put the sprayer on the right-hand side. If you're a left-handed person, you put the sprayer on the left-hand side. And then what you want to do is go ahead and protect the surrounding area you'll be working. So you want to put towels and blankets on the countertop and inside the sink in case you drop any tools or any parts from the existing faucet or the new faucet. Then at that point you want to lay out another towel and open the box for the new faucet and lay everything out on the countertop and inspect it to make sure there's no manufacturer defects, that everything is contained in the box, and if everything is there you want to move on to the next step. The next step would be to go underneath the cabinet after everything is cleaned out for a safe working environment, and you want to be able to turn the stops off, both the hot and the cold. Sometimes the hot is connected to your dishwasher as well, so you can turn off both of those as well. Once the stops are turned off, you want to open your faucet to check to see if you relieve the pressure on the faucet and that the stops are currently working. Sometimes the stops do not work, and then at that point you'll have to turn the water main off to the house and rebuild those stops. Once they're taken care of, you disconnect the supply lines and you slowly take apart the existing faucet. Once it's all out and complete, you clean up the areas where the new faucet is going to be going into, and at that point you want to inspect any supply lines or any other supplies that the new faucet is going to be connecting to. The next step would be to take the faucet and install it. Start with the spout first, make sure that's laid out the way that you decided, tighten it down, and then move along to the sprayer location, the soap dispenser, and in this case we're going to use the disposal button to utilize one of the hoses on the countertop. Then once we get below, we're going to tie into the supply lines. Basic tools that would be needed for this application would be a basin wrench, set of standard pliers, and a couple small adjustable wrenches. Sometimes Allen wrenches, and also a 6-in-1 screwdriver set. Once it's all connected, you want to just do initial once over and look to make sure everything is laid out the way you had planned. Go underneath and make sure everything's tightened up before you go ahead and turn on the hot and cold stops. Before you turn that on, you want to remove the aerator in your faucet for any dirt and debris that had loosened up in the piping, the supply lines, and then let it run for a couple minutes, both hot and cold. Once it's purged all the air out and all the debris, you can go ahead and put the aerator back on and test everything else out. Once that's complete, you'd like to go underneath and just inspect with a flashlight to make sure that the supply lines, the packing on your stops, and nothing's leaking.
Whenever you're working around your house, keep your eyes open so you can notice if there's any problems with any of the outside maintenance of your house. I was out here working on the window box the other day, and I noticed that my shutters are really starting to rot away. So I asked my good friend FYH Carpenter Bill to help me out with this problem. Bill, you say you have the solution, but before we go there, tell me why this happened to my shutters.
We've got a few problems with these shutters, Vicki. The design trim that's running along here,
Yep.
if you notice, it's angled back to the house.
Okay.
On the lower parts, that traps your water coming right back against your shutter. Anytime you have a blowing rain, even when you have dew or frost, it's going to run right down this panel and be trapped back there.
Okay, because I looked around, I couldn't see where water was running off the roof or the sprinkler hitting it or anything like that. So it's a construction problem.
Exactly. It's a design flaw and a construction problem, the materials it was made out of.
Okay, now I love the shutters and I want them to look exactly like this, but I don't want to be replacing them every 4 or 5 years. So what's going to be our solution?
Well, what we've done, Stored Enterprises has made up our shutter in separate pieces. One of the big problems with shutters are your butt joints.
Okay.
Wood is made of separate fibers. It's almost like if you hold a handful of straws together. This allows water to wick up into it if this isn't sealed.
Okay.
So what we can do on these pieces is paint them all, paint all the ends, get 2 coats of a good sealer primer on there. That'll stop the problem of moisture being able to wick in. Then we can put it together and everything's sealed on the back side.
That's a great idea. So you'll prime everything and then assemble it. Now, what is this base part of our shutters?
This is MDO plywood. It's an outdoor signage plywood made to hold up to the elements. It's nice and smooth. It takes and holds paint very well, which is why they use it a lot in the sign business.
Okay, now the only thing is that I really do love this little detail here. I don't want to go to just a plain straight shaker look like this.
Not a problem. We've got a trim strip made that's a separate piece, and if you notice, this trim strip is flat across the top. So when we install it, that'll stop the water problem we were having from being funneled back to the shutter.
Okay, okay.
Exactly, and we'll also be able to paint the back side again as well as the trim ends. So we shouldn't have any problems out of these shutters for quite a while.
Well, you know, I know that if that's the cause of the problem here, then I might as well replace them all, because sooner or later they're all going to rot out, and then that way they'll all match, and then, you know, they'll be good for another 10 or 15 years.
Exactly. With proper treatment, they'll be good for quite a few years.
Well, since you're the guy doing the treatment, I know it's going to be proper, so I'm looking for at least 10 or 15 years. Thanks, Phil.
Sounds good.
Now, I'm not really sure what happened to this screen door. My little dog Luna could have tried to claw her way out, or something creepier could have tried to claw its way in. But either case, I'm left with a repair job to do. Maybe you've got a screen at your house that has a tear in it, or maybe it's rusted and it needs to be replaced. It's pretty simple to do. First thing, take a hold of this. It's called a screen spline, and we're just going to pull it right on out. And that will remove the old screen. Now, you can go to your home improvement store and buy a screen repair kit, and it'll have everything that you need. And it's pretty simple, the tools. You're going to need a pair of scissors, one of these little screen repair tools, and a utility knife to trim the screen once it's in, some new screen spline. Don't try to reuse the old. Get yourself some new, and of course some screen. Now, they've got either metal screening or fiberglass. I suggest you go with fiberglass because it won't rust like the old metal does. Now, I've already trimmed this down to approximate size. Do not trim it exactly, because if you get a little off center, you're going to have a gap in it. Lay it out there. We'll trim it later, so don't worry about the excess. Lay it out here. Now, you want to take your tool and take the roller that's pointed in first, and we're just going to roll this guy right down into that groove. Come on, right around the corner, and just roll it down. And keep on going like this all the way around all 4 sides. Now, when you get to the last side, give it a little bit of a pull. Pull it taut. You don't want a floppy screen. Now we want to go in and put our spline in. Little round piece here. Here's a little tip for you. If this is too fat, if your screen's an old one and not a standard size, if you just stretch it a little bit, it'll make it skinny enough it can go in. We're going to come over to this edge. We're going to rotate this tool around so that we have the grooved roller starting at a corner. We're going to work this down into that edge. And don't worry if your screen comes out a little bit like mine did. This is going to just stick it right back down in there for you. That's the reason you don't want to trim this till you're all done, so you got extra to work with. And just go around the entire screen, working this into all the 4 sides. Down to the corner where you started, just take your scissors and trim that spline right off. And roller it down nice and tight at that edge. Check over your screen, make sure it's nice and tight and you don't have any bows in it, and then you're ready to trim off the excess screen. You want to make sure your utility knife is nice and sharp. Don't go in after it with a dull knife because it'll just rip and not cut. And I think it's easier to cut it if you pull it back away from you and then trim using the edge of the screen as your guide rather than cut into your screen. That way you don't run a risk of cutting into all your hard work. You want to take your time, trim this back nice and smooth, get rid of all of this excess screen, and go around all four sides just like I am doing this. And before you know it, you have repaired your screen. Once you have all four of your sides trimmed off, you're done. It's as simple as that. So the next time you have a screen with a hole in it, take a few minutes and repair it. Love outdoor grilling? Learn how to make sure your grill is safe and functioning properly before you kick off that backyard grill season. We've repaired wood damage, replaced that kitchen faucet, and now it's time for the patio. Americans love their backyards. Nothing's better than to get out there with your friends and do some grilling. You know, we're talking about today things that you can do around your home, routine maintenance things that keep things looking their best, and they're safe for your family to use and operate. And when I'm talking backyard grill, you got to think safety. Now, Chris is here and he's been working with our plumbing in our kitchen today, but before you let your plumber slip away, ask him to come on out to your backyard and take a look at your grill, let you know whether or not it's safe and ready to go.
In talking about grill safety, it comes down to two different types of grills. One is liquid petroleum, which is LP, and the other is, in this case, an outdoor grill that is natural gas, hard piped in. It's important to have these annually inspected by a licensed contractor. Most plumbers are licensed in gas piping. Some things you could look for is buildup on the grill to make sure that you don't have a lot of buildup of grease. Also check and inspect the supply lines. Sometime over a period of time you could get some dry rot on the hoses, or the flare fittings could become loose, so it's good to do an annual inspection on those and do a pressure test. On this case, a couple of Vicki's burners are not working anymore. It's a great indication that there's a problem internally with the unit. Unfortunately, this unit is unavailable. They discontinued it, so we're going to be installing a new unit.
When you're upgrading and improving your home, always look for products that can save you money by reducing your energy consumption. Energy-efficient doors and windows, water-saving appliances and fixtures. You will save money and help the environment at the same time. If you have a two-story home, then I bet you have a similar problem that I do on this stair landing. Now, this is a western exposure window, which means in the afternoon the sun just streams in here, making it really hot. So the solution is, of course, window treatments. And I have drapes here, and I could pull those shut, but then that would knock out all the light, and it wouldn't be the look I'm after. So I decided that the perfect solution would be 2-inch real wood blinds. Now, blinds are perfect because then I can control the amount of light that I allow to come in here and control the amount of heat buildup from that hot sun. All of you guys know Andy. He's my man that I go to whenever I have to install window treatments. And before you head off to your home improvement store to order the blinds for your window, Andy's got some great tips. Right, Andy?
Yeah, we're going to talk about measuring here. There's two ways to install blinds. One is an outside mount, and then there's also an inside mount. And the way that we measure for an outside, Vicki, is if you'll just go from that outside casing, and I'll pull the tape over to this outside casing, and that would be your width for the blind. Then you go from the top of the casing and measure down to the sill, and that would be your length for the outside mount. Those measurements that you'll give to the manufacturer, they'll make that blind to those exact specifications. Now, an inside mount is a little bit different. So what we would do there is we would measure inside from there to this point here, and then we would measure from the inside casing there down to the sill. We would give those measurements to the manufacturer, and they take a deduction on an inside mount. They take off a 1/2 inch so that the blind is sure to fit in there and not rub up against the casing.
Then it's just a matter of
And you
installing,
just
and
got
that's
to put
where
a few brackets up, and we're ready
that's
to
where
go.
I quit helping. It's all yours.
All right.
Go right ahead. I really had a long list of projects that had to be done around my house to maintain its value. New doors, new faucets, new shutters, and a new grill. I hope your list isn't as long as mine, because I want you to have time to join me next time right here on For Your Home.
If you would like additional information about today's guests or project ideas, please visit us on the web at foryourhome.com. We will do our best to help you out.